Good morning, welcome to Mum's Homestead. I'm down at the allotment this morning and the first task I've got of the day is to harvest the rhubarb. This is the final lot of the rhubarb that I shall be making and then I'll be leaving it to let all the energy go down into the roots for next year. I've got three different types of rhubarb here. I've got Timperley Early, Victoria and a new one on me which is apple rhubarb. What I've found is the apple rhubarb, it tastes delicious, it's really sweet. But you do need a lot more of it rather than with the Timperley Early. You don't need as much of it. It's much more juicy, much more succulent, whereas the apple rhubarb is a bit, I'd say, not dry, that's the wrong word, but it's just a different texture. I'll just grab a couple and I'll be able to show you what they look like. Just bear with me. Okay. So here we've got the Timperley Early and here is the apple. You can see, if I come even closer, you can see it's much more, there's more texture to it, if that makes sense. It's much smaller and drier, but it is worth it for the flavour. The Timperley Early, I can't remember if I said, but the Timperley Early. The Timperley Early, you can see, is much bigger. The apple tends to be a lot smaller, but as I say, it's worth it for the flavour. Also, the Timperley Early, it stores better. You can keep this for a good 4 or 5 days without it going a bit soft and not so edible, whereas the apple, about 24 hours, it doesn't last as long, but still worth a go. Let's get on and harvest this lot. Okay, so right next to me now is the pile of harvested rhubarb. It comes probably about ½ a metre off the ground. There's quite a lot here, so I'm going to get on with chopping off the leaves now, finishing tidying up that, and then move on to the next task. So here we are back from the allotment. We now have our rhubarb. I've got it all here. I've given it a wash and what I'm going to do next is chop it up into small chunks. I'll just demonstrate here. So I'm going to just chop the ends off and chopping it into about 1-inch chunks. I'm not doing all of the rhubarb that I collected, I've done about half of it. So what I'm going to do is chop them all into chunks, give them another wash, and then I'll weigh it to decide how much sugar we need. So I will let you know once I've chopped all this up how much sugar we'll need. Okay. Okay, so I've now chopped up all the rhubarb, given it another wash, And what you'll need is, I've got 4 pounds of rhubarb chopped up. You need a large preserving pan because it will splatter everywhere. So we'll pop it all into the preserving pan. And to this we need to add 8 cups of water. So for every 2 pounds of rhubarb, it's 4 cups of water. So I've got 4 pounds of rhubarb, so I'm doing 8 cups of water. And we'll now take this over to the hob and bring this to a boil. Okay, so as you can see, the water just about covers the rhubarb. So what we're going to do is just bring this slowly to a boil, and once it's come to a boil, we will leave it simmering there for about 20 minutes. Okay, so the liquid has now been boiling for about 20 minutes, and this is what it should look like now, where it's not chunky anymore, it's just become quite mushy, and there should be virtually no chunks left in there. So now what we need to do is strain it through a sieve into another container. I've got a sieve and I need a ladle to strain this liquid into here. It's really, really hot, so just take a bit of care when doing this. And even though it looks like a really nasty green mess, the liquid coming out, I don't know if you can see that clearly in the camera there, is this gorgeous pink colour. I'll just lift it up so you can see. There we go. So I'm just going to spend a bit of time now just ladling this through. And what you want to do is get every last bit of juice out of this. So use the back of the ladle just to squeeze it through, or a wooden spoon. It does take a bit of time this, but it is well worth the effort because you're squeezing every last bit of flavour from the rhubarb. See, as I'm doing that, how much liquid is coming out. Okay, so that's all done now, and here it is in the bowl. This is the liquid, and as you can see it's pink. Here's all the pulp that's left over. Now that doesn't need to be thrown away. What you could do to that is add some sugar to that, and you can use it on top of yogurt or cereal, or pop it into a pie. I'm going to add a bit of sugar and pop it in the freezer for pies for the winter time. I'll probably keep a little bit for on top of cereal in the mornings. So nothing goes to waste in this, so let's just pop that to one side. Now I just need to measure out this liquid to see how much we have. Okay, so what you need to do now is bring the pot over to the hob and very slowly bring it to the boil. You don't want to do it quickly because you don't want to burn the sugar. And talking of the sugar, the amount of sugar you need would be, if you had 2 pounds of rhubarb, you need 2 cups of sugar. I had 4 pounds of rhubarb. I should have put 4 cups of sugar in, should I say, but I did get the measurements slightly wrong. However, I think it will still be okay. But as I say, 2 pounds of rhubarb, 2 cups of sugar, 4 pounds of rhubarb, 4 cups of sugar. So we're just going to bring this slowly to the boil, and then we will boil it for 5 minutes. Okay, so it's time to start putting the jam in, sorry, not the jam, the syrup into jars. I've pre-warmed these jars so that we're not putting really hot liquid into cold jars, as that will crack them. So I will just carry on filling these. Don't worry too much if there's froth on yours. It just affects the appearance. It doesn't affect the taste at all. It's just a little bit unsightly, I suppose, but it doesn't bother me. It's come out a much lighter colour, this one, than my previous one that I made. I quite like this colour. Okay, now I need to get the lids on. Okay. Need to make sure I get the right lids on the right jars. So again, finger tight. Now I'm going to water bath can these afterwards for 15 minutes. That's fine for my altitude. That is because I'd like to store these well into the winter time. So make sure we've got plenty of this syrup. Oops. To have, we like to have it on yoghurt in particular. That's our favourite, but it's delicious on pancakes, ice cream. It's really nice on an ice cream, or however else you like it. So there you have it, 9 jars of rhubarb syrup, and we have a bag of just rhubarb chunks chopped up for the freezer, and a bowl of the leftover pulp with a bit of sugar added to it for use for breakfast and things for the next week. Thank you again for joining me today on Mum's Homestead. I hope to see you soon. Bye.